Today I have a question for you. You all have been in a church service before, yes? Sang worship songs before, right? Can you think of maybe a worship song you really like? Or one of your favorite songs, one that people sing a lot? How about maybe Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound? No? Or maybe How Great is Our God? Come on, sing it, Mason. Sing with me, how great. You know that one, right? Yes, you do. Anyways, if you've been in a worship service, and I know you have, then you have enjoyed the art or craft of worship songwriting, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Have you ever wondered what makes a song so likable, or what makes it a good song? Well, good worship songwriting is a craft, like I said. There are general rules to live by when you're writing any song, and then there are some that help us specifically when we're writing a worship song. I've been a worship leader and a songwriter for many years and have a passion to write good songs that serve the church. So, I would like to show you how lyrics, melody, and musicality play into the process, and then teach you a few extra worship songwriting tips. So let's start with lyrics. Lyrics are what? The words that we write, okay? Number one, they need to follow a good pattern. Seidel teaches if you think of a song like a story, the verse is the passage that builds the suspense and the action. Then the chorus typically occurs after the verse. It also states the main idea of your song. It is repeated in the most recognizable. And then last, the bridge is the section of a song that contrasts the rest of the composition. So a good pattern would be something like verse, then the chorus, then a verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, and then the outro. Okay? That's a really well-known one. So that's really important when choosing how your song's going to flow, is to choose a good pattern. Number two is to write simply. This is really important when writing a worship song, because unlike other genres, if you go to a concert and you listen to someone sing, you're okay with just kind of sitting back and watching them sing and singing all these words that you don't know, because you're just there to watch and enjoy. But when you're in a church, you want to sing along, right? You want to sing the songs with the people. And so you don't want to make the congregation work too hard with too many lyrics. You want to write simply. Number three, you want to make it memorable. See, we as worship leaders and songwriters, we should be making the most catchy phrases and beautiful phrases. We should be leading in that way, because those things help paint a picture in your head of the words that you're writing, and it helps people remember them. Number four, you need to give it a strong theme and a message. Let's think back to the Amazing Grace song that I just sang. That song is such a strong message about grace, right? It doesn't try to talk about grace and love and forgiveness. It sticks with the strong theme of grace, and it's very memorable because of that. Okay, so let's move on to melody and talk about that. Melody needs to be very singable. The average person does not sing like a professional singer, am I right? So, again, we need to make the congregation not work too hard for it. A recent article from Acts 2 Network said, if the power went out in your church on Sunday and you had to lead the congregation in a cappella style, that means no music at all, would the song be good? A strong melody is the backbone of a good song. Number two, it needs to be catchy, or you need a hook. In the book God Songs they write, it's sort of like angling for fish. You guys like fishing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the hook is dropped, not just once, right? You don't just, when you're fishing, just throw it out one time. You do it over and over, and soon it catches on, you reel in the fish. Well, in worship songwriting, you repeat that hook over and over, and it lodges into the memory of people. So you need something that's great and it's catchy. So another example is what I just sang, How Great is Our God. That's a very well-known song that's super catchy, and you hear it and you're singing it the rest of the day. Last, let's talk about musicality. One, you really need interesting and appropriate chord progressions. If you're singing a song about when Jesus died on the cross, that's very serious, right? Makes us almost kind of sad. So we don't want to use chords or music that sounds very bright and happy. We want to use chords that sound and they fit what we're singing about in the lyrics that we're writing. Okay, and number 2 is dynamics. This is very important in worship songwriting because if we're writing simply and we're writing words that are kind of repetitive, it's really extremely important that the music is interesting to our ears. Seidel says, remember, you don't need lyrics to tell a story. It can be a progression in your leads, your creative drum patterns, or any interesting combination of sounds. And then last, I want to talk about some things that are extra tips for writing a good worship song. And these are things that, unlike what I've talked about so far, they apply only to worship songwriting. Number 1 is that instead of entertaining, we write worship songs to tell a story. Did you know that? Worship songs tell His story, God's story, and they lead people to an understanding of who God is. And that's such a difference than other songs that people write. Number 2, worship songwriting is a love song to only the same person every time, right? You hear songs on the radio and they're about to their ex-wife or their girlfriend or I don't know, all kinds of different people, right? Whatever inspires them in the moment. But with worship songwriting, it's always about the same person, and that's God, because He deserves our love and our adoration. And then number 3, something that we need to always keep in mind, super important, is that theology counts. Worship songs sing what we believe and truths we know in the Bible. And that's very different than other songs who are simply talking about their emotions and how they feel, and they're not really using any kind of truths that they live by. So, I think that I'm going to end with a quote from Brian Johnson that says, we need to marry the prophetic and the practical. I really believe in that, and I think you can see that point in what I've talked to you about today. Lyrics pattern well with simple, memorable, strong theme, melody, singable, catchy, musicality, all these things we've talked about. They're practical ways we ensure we're writing well. But the differences we talked about that we must take into account help us marry the two together. Worship songwriting is such a special craft and it's such a great responsibility, and I hope that I have helped inform you on the kind of crafting involved in this amazing process. How long did you